Hi and welcome to Talking Europe. We are in Brussels for a debate on the Mercosur, a highly divisive trade deal between Europe and South American nations. After years of negotiations, EU member states have agreed to it, but its opponents say the fight isn't yet over. Our guest today, Barry Cohen, Irish MEP, member of the centrist Renew Group and former Agriculture Minister, and André Rodrigues from Portugal. You're an MEP for the Socialists and Democrats groups. Welcome to the two of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You are both members of the Agri Committee, the Agriculture Committee, but with opposing views on this trade deal, the Mercosur. I would like to start with you. André Rodrigues, why is Portugal supporting it?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. Portugal is supporting Mercosur because we believe that Mercosur is a very important trade agreement on a very challenging and demanding time when the European Union must conclude one of the most longest negotiations regarding this agreement. Mercosur is an agreement with trade that involves different sectors: agriculture, farming, industrial trade. So it is a very broad agreement that can build one of the most important trade community in the world with more than 700 million people. And I believe that strategically, European Union must have to redesign the alliances, to redesign the role that European Union has in the world. And I believe Mercosur will be helping on that, that goal, that objective.
Regarding that geopolitical aspect, do you agree, Barry Cohen, that it can help build bridges with South America at a time where, because that's what a lot of what you and other countries are saying, helping at a time where Donald Trump is trying to enhance tariffs, but also take over parts of South America, or at least an influence?
It goes without saying that the European Union, as a result of the issues associated with its trade with the US, when they are now looking inwards and the likes of China are becoming more assertive, it's important that the European Union looks beyond itself in order to more quickly and more timely put in place third country trade agreements.
But Ireland, your country, hasn't supported Mercosur.
Not in this instance. Look, and you know, if it was purely down to economics, it was purely down to commercial realities, you would support it. Because if I look at Ireland's trade with Mercosur countries presently, it's about 1.8 billion in total, with an 800 million surplus in our favour. That will undoubtedly increase by virtue of the potential for dairy sector, for medtech, Medicare, pharma, and the drinks industry. But it's not always about money. It's not always about the bottom line. Sometimes, you know, it's about principle. And the principle here in relation to environmental commitments that have been made by Irish farmers and the agricultural sector over the last 30 or 40 years, one which is highly traceable and policed in such a way that, you know, human health is guaranteed in relation to the produce that we produce. We haven't those same reciprocities proposed in this trade deal. There is potential for over a period of time to reach a pathway by which that would be the case, but not immediately so, and that proves a problem and an issue for us. And our government, you know, engaged in, as we did as MEPs, with the potential to improve aspects of the deal by virtue of the safeguards, or, you know, in relation to the issue about triggering an assessment, triggering a review, triggering its suspension in the event of the beef trade being impacted by 10% initially, whether it be in volume or price. That's being reduced to 5%. The rigidity associated with it is now there. Pesticides reciprocity is now in place.
And we're going to
talk about, there has been some improvements.
Yeah, we'll talk about the improvements
that are fine. But unfortunately, our Irish government, right up to the last meeting last week with the EU agriculture ministers, decided against it by virtue of it not going far enough in relation to environmental
Ireland
commitments.
opposed it. France opposed it also. Just let's remind our viewers that this deal will gradually eliminate tariffs on over 90% of bilateral trade. Let's take a listen to a French farmer. Why? Because French farmers have been taking to the streets, leaving their countryside, storming into the French capital, notably outside the Arc de Triomphe, but also outside the National Assembly. Take a listen.
The regulations of products that will be imported into France do not respect French norms. So we're here to fight our corner, and the consumer's corner too. Because I don't think the consumer will be very happy with what's going to end up on their plate. These are products that are not legal in France, from hormone-injected animals. I'm pretty sure the consumer doesn't want that.
Mr. Rodriguez, are you worried about what you're going to be getting on your plate in the future after this Mercosur deal
I'm not.
is agreed?
No, I'm not worried with the specific of the criticism that I'm hearing, because the agreement already contains some safeguard mechanisms. Reciprocity is a key principle to the agreement that we are now having, and I don't think that farmers all across Europe fear competition. They don't fear competition. What they fear is unfair competition. And the thing is, that I believe that the Mercosur agreement, of course, I understand the worries and particularly in these challenging and demanding times, but I believe that the Mercosur agreement is a balanced agreement. I would prefer that some of the safeguard mechanisms will be a little bit more rigid or a little bit more demanding, but nevertheless, I think the real question we have to face is what is the alternative to not signing the Mercosur agreement that we are going to being negotiated by the last 25 years. I think the alternative is way far worse, because what the fear-mongering regarding the Mercosur agreement does, it doesn't add any value to the income of farmers. It doesn't add any other markets that European farmers can benefit with their production. I believe Europe has the opportunity and the ability to compete all across the world, and our farmers as well, and that will be a good thing for European farmers. Of course, I know that is being a lot of misinformation, and we do need to do more to better inform the public what is the safeguard mechanisms, what that represent regarding some of the agricultural sectors. But for instance, in Portugal, for Portugal, the Mercosur agreement represents an opportunity, and for the several sectors that we are facing some challenges in Portugal regarding Mercosur, I believe that the Portuguese farmers will do better with Mercosur without Mercosur.
And you think that even small farmers will benefit from this deal?
Look, the point that's been made by my colleague here is correct insofar as when he says that farmers or the community or the sector don't fear competition. They fear unfair competition. They fear that the traceability systems in place in these countries is not on a par with the system that is in place in Europe. They fear that antibiotic use is not on a par, and the management and overviewing and auditing of that system is not on a par with what it is in Europe. And until there's reciprocity in that area, there can't be full approval or agreement that you are playing a fair game on a level playing pitch. You're simply not, and that's what farmers fear and worry and have concerns about.
Barry, we were talking about this earlier before the show. There have been some changes made to the Mercosur agreement, notably on serious ones on implementing checks, possibly in South America on these standards, possibly in Europe. How feasible is that? How can you conduct checks and make sure that the products arriving from South America are as good as the ones and respecting the same norms as Europe?
That remains to be seen, and notwithstanding the efforts I and my colleagues from Ireland will make to influence our colleagues across Europe to reconsider their commitment in relation to supporting this deal, one has to be realistic and be of a mind that in the event of it passing, that there's adequate safeguards and backstops in place and protections and compensatory measures in the event of the fears and concerns materialising. But there's also been a new commitment provided for within the safeguards that has added, whereby the Commission has committed to extra resources in relation to funds and personnel to be in a position to double the amount of checks and balances that are taking place in abattoirs and ports. But even more important than that is that they've committed to 6 monthly reports where MEPs like us will be able to evaluate what progress has been made, or what has this deal done what it says in the tin? Is it being implemented? Are those safeguards sufficient? Because if it's not, then it will be suspended immediately until such time as it is.
The fight isn't yet over for the opponents of Mercosur, because the European Parliament still has a final word, if you will. What is your point of view? Briefly, will the European Parliament veto this deal?
I don't think the European Parliament, at the end of the day, will veto the Mercosur agreement, because the alternative is way worse than to have the Mercosur agreement. Of course, we have some worries, and it is important that the real test to the Mercosur starts now with the implementation after the consent given by the Parliament. But to answer your question, I think the Parliament will consent in the Mercosur agreement. But of course, we have to face and to be very attentive to the implementation in order to see if the safeguard mechanisms are being able to do what we want them to do. It's to suspend the Mercosur in different products if we see any kind of fluctuation on imports or even in prices that can be damaging the agricultural sector in Europe.
Final word for you, Barry Cohen. Do you believe that the European Parliament will vote against the Mercosur deal?
I don't know, is the short answer. A decision will be made by the Parliament itself and its members. And it's all to play for from the perspective of the fact that, while many countries voted for this, many MEPs may not have agreed with it. You have split MEPs, I'm sure, in France and in Italy and in other countries. And that's where we'll be focusing our attention to win support and be in a position to have this defeated at that stage, because it's not an agreement until the European Parliament agree to it. Like any other legislation or proposals of this nature, it has to have the support of the Council and the Commission and the European Parliament.
Barry Cohen, Andre Rodriguez, thank you very much for your time. That's it for Talking Europe from Brussels. Stay tuned to France 24.